Welcome back to All the Mods Episode 8 with Martian Sorb. We have done some changes to the base. As you may notice, we have a roof, we have some windows. We're starting to get there and having a hard time finding the colors to finish out our flooring. We were trying to do red on one side, blue on the other side, and then green on the other two sides. While we were out mining, though, we did find something interesting that we're going to be sharing with you. And today, we're absolutely going to be getting the mob farm up and running. So look forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty great. So while we're out mining, we actually found a neat little mob that we're going to set up in our mob farm and get some pretty cool stuff to show you guys. In addition to that, we have sorted out our storage drawers, so we're ready for the mob farm now. We have enough. We're starting to map things in there. And yeah, so we're going to get started. Thanks.
So first thing I want to start with is getting extract as well as item pickup for our spell on our mage book. I actually was able to upgrade this to a tier 2 book. Use that with, if you look at the recipe here, you just need some obsidian, some diamonds, blocks of quartz, and blaze rods. These blocks of quartz are found in the mob dungeon that we did earlier, and then the blaze rods we heroically battled out in the nether, so I was able to upgrade it. So to make this spell, we're going to do extract. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to throw. Actually, I think it just sucked it out of the system. It sure did. Okay, well, that works too. I'm going to learn that one. And then we need item. Pick up. On this, select, and then throw these two out. Oh, I grabbed another one out of the system. That's fine. I should have just left them in the system. They would have been ready to go. I didn't think it could reach that far, but it did. Alright. So now we can edit this spell. So we've already got our break spell. But we're going to add extract to it and item pickup. What that's going to do is give it Silk Touch, because we have been unlucky with finding a Silk Touch enchantment. But from far away, without a magnet, if I throw that spell, it breaks it and it puts it in my inventory from all the way over here. Which means that when we're going to find some spawners later because of Apotheosis and being able to Silk Touch spawners, we can long range pick them up with this spell. So it's going to come in handy.
Hi guys, this is just going to be a little small clip. I wanted to show you how you can grow plants, trees in a pretty quick and easy way in this mod. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set a drawer right here. That gives our items a place to go. And I'm going to put down what's called a hopper botany pot. If you take a look, it requires terracotta, a hopper, and this little flower pot, which is made with bricks. All of that can be done with clay and a little bit of iron, and we're going to place it down right here. So if you right click on this guy, you'll see that there's two slots. One of these is for dirt or sand or any type of growing material, and you're going to plant the tree directly on top of it. And at this point, this is going to start growing. So we'll give this a few minutes here and just wait. Alright guys, and here we go. You see it actually finished growing and it put my first log in the bottom right. What I'm going to do now is link and lock this drawer so that nothing else can go in this slot, and I'm going to watch as it produces, because this should make more saplings, it should make some apples and sticks, and we're going to lock all of those in there, and over the next day or so we should end up with a good couple thousand of these.
Alright, so we've got an osmium compressor here. This is made with the advanced control circuits, which is just a basic control circuit surrounded by the alloys. And the convenience of this thing is two things. For one thing, it can make the atomic disassembler, which is the mechanism tool. It uses power to operate, but it doesn't ever take durability. And we have been having problems with breaking our tools, so we're going to make one of these. And it starts with enriching some obsidian. One enriched obsidian makes 4 of these, and then an enriched diamond can turn 4 of those. So that. Just run that through the infuser, so we've got 80 millibuckets for 8. Another cool trick is that this refined obsidian, when you turned into refined obsidian ingots, can make refined obsidian tools, and those refined obsidian tools have a hardness level that allows you to mine all the modium, which, otherwise you need to go get netherite, but this is another way that you could, get it with the not having to go to the nether and find netherite, since that can sometimes be really annoying. Take one of these over to here. That in with 1 obsidian. There we go. So I'll need to turn this into the obsidian alloys. So we'll be back once we got this all together, and I'll show you the atomic disassembler in action. So if you're like me and you don't like waiting on these machines being slow, Mechanism does have these upgrades available. The energy upgrades make it where they don't take as much power to run their operations, and the speed upgrades make them faster, but as a result of them being faster, it uses a lot more power, so that's why you counterbalance that with the energy upgrades. Would highly recommend always pairing that. If you just put the speed upgrades in, you're going to see your power disappear real quick. If you can see how much quicker that makes that move. Alright, so I got the materials together for this, so we're going to make our atomic disassemblers, one for each of us. It requires 2 energy tablets, so there is 1, 2. 2. So in order for these things to work, they do need to have power. Just going to give it a little bit of a charge. So we both have a tiny charge. Here's your sorb. And you can hold shift and scroll wheel with these, and you can change like the speed that they move. So fast is just like an insta brake. Slow, quite slow. Normal is a decent efficiency 5 speed. You can also turn it off because these actually hit pretty hard. They hit for what's the equivalent of 20 attack damage. And if you don't want to be accidentally breaking blocks while you're swinging, you can switch it to off. So that's why that setting exists. We made these elevators because we're going to be doing a downstairs for our mob farm. And it's not really set up yet, but this is the area that we've cleared out for it. These elevators are pretty easy to make. You just need some wool and an ender pearl. What is cool about these though is that you can camouflage them to make them look like another block. So what I'm going to do is just right click this Zycraft block on there. Zycraft world. And you see it changed it to be that color. And then we'll make this one our red floor, and this one will be our blue floor.
So, this little tidbit here is going to be very good for those of you who love to build things. These are called building gadgets. That particular mod has a set of tools that allow you to place blocks, replace blocks, and copy and place blocks. So I'm going to show you how that works here. So the first thing you want to do is shift and right click on the block that you're selecting. After that, there's a certain amount of settings you can choose that'll determine how the blocks are placed. What I'm going to select is called Build to Me, and I'm going to max the range out all the way. And if I go all the way down here, I can click the end of that block, and it'll place blocks that entire length.
But just as a heads up, guys, that range is only for whenever you're selecting a certain type of build pattern. So if you said, I want to build it vertically or lengthwise, then it's only going to build it that far. But when you do build to me, it completely ignores that. It's going to build to where you are located.
Earlier, Martian was showing you guys how to make the mechanism tool. One great thing about it is it doesn't take durability like he said, but you need to continuously supply it with power. So we're going to get into a little bit of wireless power with something called flux networks. And I'm going to show you how to make that initial flux dust here. So the first thing you need to do is find yourself some bedrock, and right on top of that bedrock set some obsidian. You see I put 2 here, I'm going to put 2 more here. And the next thing you want to do after that is toss some redstone right under the obsidian. Once you have that redstone sitting there, you can right click the obsidian, or left click it, sorry, and that'll make your flux dust. So I'm going to do that a few more times here. And that way we should hopefully have enough to start setting up our flux networks. Now that we have our flux dust, we need to set up our flux networks. So we're going to do a little bit of crafting here, but before I get into that, there's one thing I wanted to show you guys. So to make these flux cores, you need Eye of Enders. And those Eyes of Ender require blaze powder. Earlier in the series, we talked about how you can use the mechanical squeezer to give you higher yields on items. Well, putting a blaze rod in a mechanical squeezer will yield 5 instead of 2, so that's pretty significant. So let's get into it. Okay, now that all of those are crafted, we need to set up our flux network. The first thing you're going to want to do is set down a flux controller. This is going to allow you to control your network, set the privacy settings, and allow others to join that network as well.
Do keep in mind though that whoever creates the network is automatically going to be the network owner. So if you're playing with a friend and they're not online, you won't be able to add them until they are online. But we'll show you how to add them into the network settings here.
So right here, I went to network members. I'm going to click on Martian, set him as a user, and then also add him as an admin. That's going to allow him to manage this network as well. On the network selection tab, I've already have it selected here, but you want to click on your network, and that is which network that the flux controller is going to use. And then the last thing you would want to do on the flux controller is go to wireless charging. And you're going to want to turn on your armor slots, curio slots, hotbar, and offhand and main hand. Once you do that, check enable wireless and hit apply. This is going to allow the network to charge any device that I have in one of these slots. So, flux controller set up. Now it's time to add a flux plug to our network. So, we're going to right click the flux plug, go to network selection, and also select marsh and sort. As you see on the wireless charging, it's enabled. So now you can watch my atomic disassembler is charging. I've pre-made this item just so we can talk about it a little bit, but we don't currently have a use for it. This is a flux point. What this will do is it'll allow us to transfer energy wirelessly from this plug to whatever location we choose. So here we set up one of the mob mashers from mob grinding utils, and what we did was we captured one of those elite mobs, and we're going to place it on this seat and flip the switch and see if we can get some extra loot out of it.
You're gonna get extra loot, but it's a lot faster at killing them, that's for sure. Because normally whacking at these guys
Let's
takes
see
a
here.
hot minute. I'm gonna grow them back up. This is a shrinking device, by the way. And that's how we caught him. If you shrink a mob by left clicking him, then you can put him in a glass bottle. That's how we picked him up. I left clicked him, he's big again. You put the upgrades in it?
Yeah, sure did.
And it's still faster than swinging at him.
Much faster. There we go. As you see, the type of loot that comes from these guys is not your average loot. Here we go.
Alright, welcome back. So we've done some work. The red room is red, and we have built the long-awaited mob farm after much promising. There is still a few more things that we need to do to it to get it functional, but we wanted to bring you in for that part because it could be important if you've never done this before. So we need to collect the mob drops and then send them back into our system. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to have our collection chest. Do it right here is fine. And we'll that there to do the actual collections because they're going to die right there. And this is to collect the XP. So that is facing south. We're going to say south for fluids because this XP is a fluid. And then north for items, and that'll push them into this chest. But we're going to have to filter these items to send them where we want to go. So we're going to send them to two different places. One is going to be back into the system, which we're going to do with a dimensional chest. And the other is going to be into a trash can for the items that we just don't care about. And we might filter these more, but for right now, we do need to have an item interface connected to this chest, and all that's doing is checking this chest's inventory. By itself, it does nothing, but we've got these two exporters here. Exporters can be told to move items into the inventories that they're connected to based on a set of rules. So we're going to go over those rules here in just a second. So we've got them all connected up. The way that you tell them what rules you want for sending them items is using variable cards. And this portable logic programmer, which is crafted with a logic programmer, which is just some mineral block and a crafting table. You can right click this and it brings up a menu, and we want to do an operator, and in this case I don't want to keep any armor or tools, so I'm going to say damageable, item damageable. So in other words, if the item has durability, we're going to say then that makes this true. So if it's true, as a Boolean, you might be familiar with programming. Boolean just means it's either true or false. If it is true, it's going to export that item into the inventory that's connected to. So I'm going to put this in the trash can. That's the one that's connected to the trash can. So now it's going to check this chest, because this is the only one with an item interface, and it's going to say, is that item damageable? And if it is, it's going to put it into this trash can. But I do want to keep all of the stackable items, because that's going to get imported into the system. So I'm going to do another operator, in this case stackable, and give it another variable card. So if the item can be stacked, i.e. it's not like, well, you know what stackable is. If it can be, like this is a stackable item because I've got 62 of them, but an axe is not stackable because I could not put this on top of another axe. I'm going to put this here. So now all stackable items are going to come out of here and go into this dimensional chest. So now that it's in this dimensional chest, it will just sit there until we do something with it. So I'm going to need to go back upstairs where our actual storage is. And I'm going to put an importer And for right now, I'll just put it right there. So anything that is attached to this will get imported, but only once it's got the rules to tell it that. So we're going to put the other dimensional chest right here. These dimensional chests are linked. So if I put an item in this dimensional chest, and then go back downstairs and I look at this dimensional chest, that same item is still there. Now it's not importing right now, and that is because we haven't given it a rule to tell it that what it needs to import. If you give it a blank variable card, you're basically giving it a Boolean expression that is always true. So I'm just going to say under the import all items, I'm going to give it a blank variable card so that it's going to be always true. So now that I've got that import there, if we look in there, we see that chest is empty, and it's because this just got imported into our system. So if I look inside of here, see that we've got exactly 62 bone meal, which was all the bone meal that we had. And I can throw more items in here, and you'll see that they just get imported directly into the system. So now that we've got the foundation laid for that, all that's left is to actually get this thing up and running. So I'm gonna send this over to Sorb for that part.
All right. Thanks, Marsh. Let's get to talking about how this mob farm is going to actually work. So there's a few things we did. We have a few lights connected in here that are using a redstone signal to turn on and off. We have a mob grinder in the front, which let's see, which is also using a redstone signal to turn on and off. And right here is our beloved blaze spawner that Martian killed himself to get in the nether. So, first thing we're going to do is take the cardboard box off of this. And, oh, danger, danger. So, blaze spawners, or spawners in general, with apotheosis can be controlled by certain items. I'm going to click it with this redstone comparator, so now the only way it can turn on is with a redstone signal. So let's take a quick look at how that works. So, spawner modification list. There's a few items you can right-click them with that'll activate certain conditions or it'll remove the conditions. You see here, Nether Star allows it to ignore player. Soul Lanterns allows it to ignore light, so forth. Get a little further down this list, you can see that if you have a Nether Quartz held in your offhand, it'll reverse the action. So hitting it with a redstone comparator and a nether quartz in your offhand will remove the redstone control. And it works the same for every other item as well. So I'm going to hit these with some sugar to reduce the spawn delay, and some clocks to additionally reduce the spawn delay. And would have hit it with more, but we ran out of gold. Hit it with fermented spider eye. That's going to increase the spawn count. And last thing I'm going to do is put this nether quartz in my offhand and hit it with a blaze rod, and that's going to reduce the range that they can spawn. Alright, now we have that set up. Let's take a look at our controls to turn all of this on and off. We made this little room where we have redstone links, which is part of the create mod. And what this does is allows a redstone signal to travel wirelessly, as long as you have something to activate it. So we have levers underneath each one. So for this one, this is for our mob crusher. We're going to activate that. And now it's spinning away. Then we'll go ahead and turn off our light. And at this point, we'll be getting some blazes spawning as soon as I turn that one on. Here we go.
I don't know if you mentioned this, Sorb, but it is important that when you have these redstone links set up, you have to shift right click with an open hand in order to make it a receiver if you want this to be the one that's actually going to send out the redstone signal. Did you mention that?
I did not. That is very important. So, the ones that are actually connected to the device, you want receiving that signal. You have to shift right click them with an open hand, and you can't tell from the looks of this, but I'll put one on a wall so you can see what it looks like.
We got some extras on the wall over
Yeah,
here you can...
that'll work. So with that open hand, if I shift right click this, you see how it turned white at the top? That means this one's now receiving the signal. If you do it again, that means it's sending the signal. That is critical. Another thing that's important is you need to link the frequencies with an item. So let's say I wanted to link this one to this one here. I put a blaze rod in both of them. And that allows this one to turn that one on. You see they turn red. And there you go. Now that our mob farm's actually been running for a little bit, the next thing on the list is to make something called Cursed Earth. And to do that, we need a rotten egg from mob grinding utilities. So, to get that rotten egg, first thing you'll need to do is make GM chicken feed cursed. And have everything lined up right here. Reason we didn't do this sooner is because we needed the experience in a bucket. And we had to have the mob farm running for that to work. So, I'm going to go ahead and craft this. And we're going to go downstairs and make us an egg. Marsh was kind enough to grab us a few chickens, so we're going to hit one with this bag and see what happens. Oh! So now we have a rotten egg. Next thing on the list is to put that to the dirt. So we're going to come right here and center it off because it does a 5x5 area. And now that we've done that, Marsh is going to break the centerpiece out so we can put our spawner back. Now that our spawner's back and our cursed earth is down, we're going to add our vector plates back to the farm and turn the lights off, and we'll be getting a lot more spawns than we were previously.
By the way, this cursed earth, if it touches natural sunlight, it burns up and turns back into dirt. So if you do set this up, make sure you got a roof on. We lighted it up with those redstone lamps. That's why nothing is spawning. And as you know, entities in the world can cause lag, especially in a mod pack like this. You end up getting a lot of lag because there's a lot of processes running and there's a lot of mods installed. So anything you can do to reduce lag is great. So if you're not using your mob farm and or you feel like you've got enough drops at that point, you can flick the lever to turn the light on and everything will stop spawning so that you're not creating additional stress on your server.
Another thing we want to point out is that the cursed earth can only be picked up with silk touch. So don't try to break it because you will destroy it. It'll turn back to regular dirt. You see now we got spiders spawning. Oh, just heard something else spawn. And let's see what we get. There's an enderman, some slimes, and that's what the cursed earth does.
Alright, so we found this guy wandering around outside, so we caught him and put it in his seat of shame here. We're going to use a trick from mob grinding utilities with the mob swab, which allows us to make a spawn egg. Apotheosis has the capture enchant, so if you kill enough of these guys, you could get a spawn egg that way, but this is more guaranteed. Definitely saves time. So I'm going to right click him, and that turns the swab green, and you'll see if you mouse over it, contains DNA with a Vindicator. The reason that I wanted this Vindicator DNA is because these guys drop emeralds when you kill them, so free emeralds, all about that. So if I hit U on this, you can see that the GM chicken feed is made like this. Put that in there, boom. And it is a good thing that we caught 2 chickens, because now we can blow this guy up. And that did say happy birthday, Darko. Darko is a mod pack developer, so that's where that came from. I guess it's a meme to say happy birthday to him when it's not his birthday, so they thought that would be funny. Anyway, now that we've got that going, let's see what we've got in the way of spawners. One of these spawners has been jacked up with a bunch of upgrades. I'm trying to find this one. See, it says spawn delay 20, max delay 250. So I'm gonna take that, even though it's moving around. So let's try that again. Why are these moving around?
That's a great question.
Okay, can I just type Blaze? Yes. All right, cool. I was not fast enough to grab it while the system was updating with different stuff. Anyway, got this spawner, and it's already got the redstone comparator upgrade. That's why it's not spawning and it's not lit up. But I can right click it and you see it keeps all those stats. So if you do get to a point in the game where you don't feel like spending a bunch of resources to upgrade your spawner, you can just reuse spawners that you no longer need. Like if you've got enough blaze rods or you got enough wither skulls or whatever, you don't need them anymore, you can recycle it and it'll keep all of its upgrades. So this guy's ready to go. So here shortly we'll be hooking up into the mob farm. We'll be back once that's ready.
Right, so the mob farm is pretty much done. Unless we decide we want to swap out some spawners, this is where we're going to leave it. We currently have a blaze spawner in here. We have a vindicator spawner, which is dropping us emeralds, and a wither spawner, which is giving us wither skulls, so we can eventually farm the wither. And you see it's running, so we're going to let that go and see how much it gets for us. Oh, before I
Actually won't be
forget,
a problem anymore. We got 54 levels and it's climbing real fast in there.
I wanted to mention we added what's called beheading upgrades to our mob grinder, and that's what's giving us the skeleton skulls. So we've had the Vindicator spawner running for about 5 minutes so far, and we're already up to 276 emeralds. We had 4. So you can see that's how good the mob farm does for us.
We got 161 wither skulls, which is probably good enough for forever.
Yep.
So with that, we finally completed the mob farm. It's all done. And we're done for today's episode. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in with us. Bye.
See you next week, guys. Bye.